This is CBN NewsWatch.
It is Tuesday, October 6th. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, President Donald Trump returning to the White House and getting ready to go back on the campaign trail after his stay in the hospital for the coronavirus. We're going to talk with CBN medical reporter Lorie Johnson about the president's health and our treatments for COVID-19. Two well-known Christian leaders also testing positive for the coronavirus. We'll tell you who they are and bring you their response. Inside Iran, a surprising new study discovers what Iranians really believe about Islam, their own government, and how Christianity has grown in the Persian Republic. And a message of hope, even as more and more young people are turning to drugs and suicide. One youth ministry is bringing them a positive word, the gospel. All those stories and more are ahead in this edition of CBN NewsWatch. I want to begin this half hour with President Donald Trump back at the White House as he recovers from his recent diagnosis with the coronavirus, but facing criticism from Democrats. Even so, the president plans to be back on the campaign trail again soon. Dale Hurd is on the story.
President Trump has staged a dramatic comeback after contracting COVID-19, and he has a message for Americans. Don't fear the disease.
Don't let it dominate you. Don't be afraid of it. You're going to beat it. We have the best medical equipment. We have the best medicines, all developed recently.
Trump, who reportedly is still contagious, will continue his recovery at the White House, where he'll be cared for 24/7 by a team of doctors and nurses. And there will be a White House contact tracing unit. Trump Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany and two assistants have also contracted COVID, and masks are now required in the West Wing.
Though he may not entirely be out of the woods yet, the team and I agree that all our evaluations, and most importantly, his clinical status, support the president's safe return home, where he'll be surrounded by world-class medical care 24/7.
Dr. Anthony Fauci told CNN the president looks good.
You're not out of it until you've gone several days out and doing well, but he certainly does look very well.
But Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden told an NBC town hall that with COVID-19, Trump still doesn't get it.
Now, what is this macho thing? I'm not going to wear a mask. What's the deal here? Be patriotic, for God's sake.
While the president recovers, Biden is trying to capitalize on having the campaign trail to himself and traveling to traditionally Republican states. The Trump campaign has responded with what it calls Operation MAGA, with Vice President Mike Pence and members of the Trump family campaigning in key battleground states across the country while the president recovers. Vice President Pence is in Salt Lake City for his debate Wednesday night with Kamala Harris. The two will be separated by a sheet of plexiglass and 12 feet of social distancing. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
And our CBN News medical reporter Lorie Johnson is with us now for more. Well, the president says that we should not fear the disease because we've got the best medical equipment and medicines. Is he right?
Well, it all depends on what he meant by the word fear. That word has a lot of different meanings. On one hand, there's an unhealthy fear, and we see in the Bible that it says God has not given us a spirit of fear. And so we don't want to go around afraid all the time and stressed out. We know stress is extremely damaging to our health. Then on the other hand, there is a healthy fear. We know the Bible also says fear God and keep his commandments. A healthy fear is when you recognize the power of something or someone to destroy and take appropriate action. Mm-hmm. And the president did say, be careful. We know as parents, we have a healthy fear of the water, so we teach our kids to swim. We don't, walk around in a state of fear about getting in a car crash, yet we wear our safety belt every day. So I hope he meant that we don't go around being in a state of anxiety about it, but we take appropriate precautions. Mm-hmm. And that actually reduces the feeling of fear when you do take precautions. I know for me, when I wear my mask and social distance, I'm a lot less afraid of coronavirus than when I don't do those things.
Absolutely. The president is going back on the campaign trail soon. Smart decision, and how long does it normally take for someone to recover?
Well, of course, we know that people can do anything virtually. So if he's campaigning virtually, he's very safe. But as far as getting out among people again, we hope that he would take the necessary mitigation efforts. We do know that we want to see anyone, when they recover from the coronavirus, get at least 2 back-to-back negative tests even better would be 3. So we're talking about a negative test separated by 24 hours each, and we know the president is going to be tested every day.
Absolutely. You are going to be talking about how we can protect our personal health on Healthy Living this evening as well, right?
Well, that's right. You know, COVID-19 is obviously grabbing all the headlines, but meanwhile, folks are still dealing with other potentially fatal health issues like food allergies. Food allergies are growing to epidemic proportions. Up to 10% of kids and adults are allergic to foods like peanuts, milk, eggs, and shellfish. Some allergies are deadly. Just one bite can cause a person's throat to swell shut. Obviously, parents of kids with these kinds of allergies live in constant fear. But Dr. Carrie Nadeau has freed her patients from this terror with her groundbreaking approach she describes in her new book called The End of Food Allergy. Take a look.
We need to make sure we understand what are the best therapies to use. And that's one of the reasons why we wrote the book, is to deliver on this hope and promise that there are therapies out there that need to be done in a trained facility with physicians and with clinicians that know how to dose these. But what we do over time is give small amounts of the food to build up the immune muscle so that over time, the immune system says, wait a minute, this is natural. This is something I should be eating for nutritious sources. I shouldn't be afraid of this, and I shouldn't be causing havoc in the body and misfiring and causing allergies. So over time, and you have to do it daily, you cannot do this weekly. You have to be under the instruction of a trained person, a trained clinic, and then over time you increase little by little. And by the end of about 9 months to a year, you're at doses that change your threshold so that you don't have to worry about accidental ingestion anymore.
Many people know the actor Steve Carell. He and his wife endorsed the book because their daughter was cured of her life-threatening food allergy by following Dr. Nadeau's plan. So, Ephraim, once again, we've got deadly food allergies and, you know, people living in fear, but then taking appropriate action, and they can minimize that fear. Just what we were talking about before with the COVID-19 virus.
Absolutely. Nice to see that steps can be taken to change things. Thank you so much, Lorie. I
Sure.
want to remind you folks at home that you can catch Healthy Living with Lorie this evening at 9:30 Eastern. Of course, you can find that on the CBN News Channel. 2 well-known Christian leaders have tested positive for COVID-19. Pastor John Hagee of Cornerstone Church in San Antonio, Texas, tested positive Friday. The 80-year-old Hagee's pastors the Cornerstone Church in San Antonio. His son, Matt, made the announcement during Sunday's online church service. He said his father tested positive Friday and is under medical care. He also told the church doctors caught it early and that Pastor Hagee is, quote, feeling well enough to be frustrated with everybody in a white coat and a stethoscope. He asked the congregation to pray for his dad, along with anyone who is dealing with COVID-19. Hagee is also the founder and chairman of Christians United for Israel. And Greg Lorie, the senior pastor of the Harvest Christian Fellowship, has announced he has tested positive for COVID-19. In a video sent to CBN News Monday, Lorie explained that his symptoms began with some fatigue he was feeling, with some aches, pains, and fever. And then he got the news he did not want to find out that he was tested positive for coronavirus.
I just wish that at a time like this, we could not politicize something like this and show compassion to people that are struggling with this. It's real. It really is a pandemic that has swept our nation and even the world. I mean, if the President of the United States can get it, obviously anybody can get it. But with God's help and your prayers, I expect to get through this.
Harvest Christian Fellowship is located in Riverside and Irvine, California, and Maui, Hawaii. Now, you can see this entire video from him at cbnnews.com. At the Supreme Court, Justices Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito appeared to invite future legal challenges to the 2015 Obergefell case that legalized same-sex marriage because the court went too far and it created a collision with religious liberties.
Alito and Justice Thomas said that things need to change, that they were basically hinting that they want to overturn Obergefell and not necessarily allow same-sex marriages declared by the court. They said basically the state should do that.
Kessler says Thomas and Alito sent a strong signal if the right case comes up on same-sex marriage, the decision could actually be overturned. Coming up, inside Iran, a shocking new survey reveals what the Iranian people think about Islam, their own government, and how Christianity has grown in that country. We're going to have that story for you when we come back. Stay with us.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link, Tuesday nights at 6:30.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Get Protect Your Sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
A new survey from Iran has revealed a seismic shift in the country that's also uncovered what Iranians really believe about Islam and how they feel about their own government. And it's not what you may think. George Thomas brings us this story.
For 14 days in June, 2 Dutch professors interviewed more than 50,000 Iranians online for an unprecedented survey covering topics from faith to politics to religious life. The authors say they discovered a huge shift that should fundamentally change how we look at Iran today. One major standout from Professors Poiman Tamina Arab and Amar Maliki is that despite Iran's census claims that 99.5% of the population is Shiite Islam, only 32% of their respondents identified as such. The next largest group are the nones at 22%, which led the authors to conclude that Iranians are abandoning religion for secularism.
Broadly speaking, this survey is important because it puts data behind the largely non-empirical argument that analysts have been forced to deal with, which is that Iranian society is less religious. This survey, this data, proves that Iranian society is exceptionally less religious.
Approximately half of the population reported losing their religion. 60% said they do not pray anymore. Younger people reported higher levels of dissatisfaction with religion, and an overwhelming number of respondents were critical of authorities using strict Islamic laws to govern daily life. For example, 72% of those surveyed opposed the law mandating all women to wear a hijab, the Islamic veil covering. And when the authors dug a little deeper on questions central to that faith, even less numbers believed in the core tenets of Shia Islam. Only 37% believed in life after death. 30% believed in heaven and hell. An even lower number, 25%, believed in the coming of their Islamic savior known as the Mahdi or 12th Imam.
All of these trends, the pushback on the hijab, the lack of belief in the coming of the Mahdi, the lack of a willingness to identify with Shiism, the willingness to identify with other faiths, are all a result of politics in the past 40 years of the Iranian government. And as the Islamic Republic has tried to shove religion down the throat of Iranians to mask their authoritarian grasp on power, you've seen Iranians contest their authoritarianism by contesting faith itself.
The survey also revealed that as Islam diminishes, Christianity is growing. 1.5% of those surveyed identified themselves as Christian.
And that is compared to about 30 years ago being less than 1%. That less than 1%, everybody thought it was less than 0.5%.
Mike Ansari of Mohabbat TV, a ministry that broadcasts the gospel into Iran, tells CBN News the survey is significant because it lends credence to what mission groups have been saying for years.
This data is important because it's indicative of the fact that in the country of Iran, in the midst of persecution and Islamic rule, Iranians are turning their back to their faith, to their institutional faith, and receiving Christianity as a new faith.
Iran is one of the most dangerous places for Christians and other minority faith groups. Non-Muslims are often arrested or severely tortured for sharing or practicing their faith. Yet, in a sign of changing times, the survey found that 41% of respondents believed all religions should have the right to public proselytizing, and around 54% said it was a good idea for their children to learn about other faiths in school. George Thomas, CBN News.
Still ahead, back here at home, a very different story as young people today are caught up in self-love. But one millennial discovered that is not the answer. We're going to hear how her quest led to her biblical truths. The story right after this.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
Prophecy thousands of years old.
We were called to be a light to the world.
Being fulfilled today. Discover how. Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life. Just call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he have, which color he is. This is what I'm doing.
See how the people of Israel are fulfilling prophecy.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
By sharing their knowledge.
In Africa, in Asia, in South America, in East Europe.
And their love.
This is how we work. This is us.
Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
We live in the selfie generation, but one millennial is bucking that trend. This host of a popular podcast is taking on her peers' obsession with self-love and exposing where it ultimately leads. Here's Jenna Browder with her story.
In a world that seems to be increasingly self-absorbed and self-focused, Allie Beth Stuckey is pumping the brakes and bringing that philosophy to a stop. She says you're not enough, and that's okay. And even more, let's take the focus off of ourselves.
Welcome to Relatable. Happy Monday.
The name of her podcast is Relatable, where Allie and her guests analyze culture, news, politics, and theology from a Christian perspective. Most of her audience is young women.
Young moms, students, young professionals, and in the world of Instagram, where a lot of these women spend their time online, there is a message of self-love that is very prevalent. And it kind of starts with this idea that you are enough.
Allie says she started getting emails about this way of thinking and questions of whether it's biblical.
So I kind of started looking into the phrase and the people who were propagating it and the messages and the heart behind it. And what I found was that while it is a well-meaning phrase, and while it does sound good to those of us who have struggled with feelings of inadequacy and insecurity, which we really all have, it's based on a false premise that you are able to be your own sufficiency, your own fulfillment, that all you need for self-confidence and therefore success is just the motivation that you can muster up inside yourself. And that, according to the biblical worldview, is simply incorrect. God made us finite. He made us fallible. He made us to depend on him, not just for our strength to get through the day, but ultimately and most importantly, for salvation.
In the book, Allie goes through 5 myths centering on the idea that you are enough. She then replaces them with the truth of the gospel. Allie once reached the dead end of self-love herself in college. She writes about breaking up with a guy she thought she would marry. That led to a season of trials marked by unhealthy relationships, over drinking, and an eating disorder.
I thought then that I was going down a path of healing and discovering myself because I was doing things that at the time felt good to me. And that's a message that a lot of young people hear, that do whatever makes you happy, do whatever feels good. That's how you're going to heal. That's how you're going to discover yourself.
Then God took control, bringing a Christian counselor into her life who helped turn Allie around and gave her a retrospective perspective to now be able to help others. Allie says this is not a book about self-obsession. In fact, she wants to throw out the practice of examining how good or bad you are.
If self-obsession is a coin, on one side of that, you've got a form of narcissism that is like self-adoration. But on the other side of that, you have self-loathing. What I'm suggesting is throw away the coin of self-obsession altogether and do what Jesus calls us to do, which is to deny ourselves, take up our cross and follow him.
The gospel is not only enough, it is the only thing that is enough.
That's what she's doing with her platform, taking the focus off of herself and putting it on Jesus, with guidelines on how you can do the same. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
And again, Beth Stuckey's book is You Are Not Enough, and That's Okay. Coming up, with suicide and drug use rising among teenagers, the youth ministry is launching an initiative to spread a message of hope, the gospel. We'll tell you about that when we come back.
Too often, we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5, Wednesday night at 9:30.
Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears.
Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com to get your copy today.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
Check out the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
Welcome back to CBN Newswatch. Generation Z is the first post-Christian generation in the history of America, and too many teenagers are bearing the consequences. In the past 10 years, teen suicide has risen by 50%. 1 in 5 students are being bullied, and each day, 15,000 new teenagers try a drug. That's why the youth ministry group called Dare to Share is kicking off an initiative to spread hope. This Saturday, tens of thousands of teens will be inspired and unleashed in their communities to share the good news of Jesus Christ in their circles of influences. The founder of Dare to Share, Greg Steyer, told CBN's The Prayer Link he believes God will strike revival in the next generation.
There's a lot of peril that our teens are facing, as you talked about, suicide, overdosing. We've lost more teens, according to the director of CDC, to suicide and overdosing in the last 6 months than we have COVID-19. So we're losing a generation, that are killing themselves, overdosing. And I just think the depression, anxiety, they need the hope of Christ now more than ever. So we're mobilizing Christian teens across the nation this Saturday in churches across the nation, coast to coast, to really equip them and mobilize them to pray for their cities.
For more of this interview and to learn more about Dare to Share Live, you can watch the prayer link this evening at 6:30 Eastern, and of course you can find that on the CBN News Channel. Time now for your Tuesday Tweetable, and here's a thought I hope will bless you, and perhaps you'll post, tag, tweet, and share it with those in your circles of influence. Old ways won't open new doors. This is a great day to try something new, take a new route, speak to someone new, rise above the fear, and simply do it. Old ways won't open new doors. Well, that is going to do it for this edition of CBN Newswatch. Thank you so much for watching. I want to remind you, you can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there at any time. You can also find them online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. Please feel free to email us at the address right there on your screen, newswatch@cbn.com. And, of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We hope you'll join us right here again next time. Make this a terrific Tuesday. We'll see you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye, God bless, and thank you so much for watching.